Who are you?
I'm no one.
Hello and welcome to the Damian+Devlin Show. This is our review of Star Wars: The Force Awakens, a 2015 film directed by J.J. Abrams and starring Daisy Ridley, Harrison Ford,
John Boyega,
yes, Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill, and Oscar Isaac. I was getting there.
Adam Driver.
Adam Driver, yeah, how could I forget him?
How can you forget Adam Driver? Like, maybe I should take over this part since you're hijacking the endings all the time.
There you go. Anyhow, this, of course, was episode 7, and it was basically a movie for a lot of Star Wars fans that we never thought we'd see. After they did the prequels, we just assumed we'd never see them, even though George Lucas always told us that there was going to be 9 in the whole series, but he kind of, after the prequels, said, you know what, we're going to leave it. And then when he sold it to Disney, they quickly, I don't think they waited too long to announce, no, 7 and 8, 9 are coming. And we finally got 7, and we decided to choose it because 8 is coming to theaters very soon. And we both agreed that we should take a look at this movie. And it was a big box office smash. Everybody really, mostly for the most part, loved it. There were some haters, but every movie's going to have them. And now we're going to tell you what our thoughts are on episode 7.
Personally, I thought it was fantastic. Coming up, I grew up when all the original trilogy was released. Then the prequels started to come out one by one. So those were my Star Wars movies that I got to get excited for to go to the theater with. Starting with episode 1, 2, and then 3. And personally, growing up with them, I thought they were fantastic Star Wars movies. Then I got to watch, so I actually watched the old ones. I did it in proper order. I watched the old ones first.
Okay, I was going to ask you, did you get to see the originals first?
I did watch the originals first, and I did enjoy them quite a bit. I had the special editions on VHS. Then the prequels came out, and I loved them too. Then when it was announced that episode 7 was finally going to come out, I got so hyped for it. I was so excited, especially because of this guy right here. He's a huge, huge, huge Star Wars fan. I think, yeah, I mean, look around.
This is just a small bit of some of my Star Wars stuff.
He's the only one that I've ever met that's managed to eclipse me with how much that they love Star Wars. He loves Star Wars.
I saw Star Wars. It was the first adult film I went to see. It was PG. Before then, I was...
Woo! Look out! PG.
No, my dad and I used to go to the movies, but we'd only see, like, G-rated movies,
Good
like
Lord.
the Disney films and stuff.
Here I am watching Saw.
Yeah.
And
Anyhow, I had to beg my father to this, and then finally my brother saw it. He said he's going to be fine with it. And it changed my life. The movie literally changed my life. In fact, the original Star Wars changed so many lives. How many times do you watch behind the scenes footage of a guy that said, I watched Star Wars and then I wanted to become a graphic designer, I wanted to do special effects
Very
and
true.
stuff.
Very true.
So it's no wonder that we're so, beloved of this, and we want to see them done right.
Yeah, absolutely. So when it was announced that The Force Awakens was coming out, and having him in my life by that point, it was the winter of 2015, I got even more hyped than I had been in a long time. Seeing the trailers, they did an excellent job with the trailer. I was like, oh my gosh, what is all of this? And when the movie came out, I fell in love with it. And I know, like you said, there are people that had their issues with it, and sure, I have some issues with it too, but overall, I was very happy with it. And it stayed true, in my opinion, to the Star Wars nature. And I think there's something unique about the Star Wars nature. The classic good versus evil just, it's been done so many times, sure, but Star Wars is just really one of the only kind of franchises that really hits home the good versus evil vibe, in my opinion.
A lot of it, yeah, it's real black and white, but I think they are getting into layers of like that gray area and stuff, which I love. And I agree. I went into this, I love the prequels, I love the originals, obviously. I had no problems with the prequels, so I was happy to say that I was very happy with this movie, and I don't think it's a perfect movie by any means, but I do think it's a really awesome movie, and really the best one they probably could have done, and smart, very smart decisions. What are your positives on this film?
I do have quite a few positives. I felt, again, the casting, I know I always go on about casting, but casting is super important to me. And in this, I felt like they really nailed it when it came to Rey, also Finn, even, of course, my personal favorite character from this movie, Kylo Ren. Like, Adam Driver is just a perfect choice for this character. He not only delivers excellent brooding and angst and anger, but he doesn't fall into the trope of just being another Darth Vader.
Which I was worried about. When I saw clips of the early footage, I said, oh my god, this guy's just going to be Darth Vader. But no, you see early in the film that he is not Darth Vader.
Yeah, I love that. Like, because I thought it too. Even though I'm a huge fan, like, he's wearing a Rebels t-shirt. If I could, I would be wearing an Empire t-shirt, because I've always been on the dark side. I love the dark side. I rooted for the Republic back in the prequels when they turned into the Empire, and then all throughout the original trilogy, I was pro-Empire all the way, right here. So the fact that even if he was just the Darth Vader cutout, I would have enjoyed that. But the fact that he made it his own, absolutely stellar. And then, of course, you have the fan favorites coming back. You've got Han Solo. You've also got Carrie Fisher coming back as Princess Leia. So nostalgia all over, excellent stuff. The imagery in this movie is absolutely phenomenal. There are just some beautiful set pieces, beautiful visuals. I love it. And of course, how can you go wrong with the soundtrack in a Star Wars movie? John Williams returns in force.
Yeah, and this guy's getting up there in years. I can't remember if he's in his 70s or his 80s, but he's still, he's cut down a lot of the movies he does, but he came back for Star Wars. I'm very happy.
He came back, and it's like he never even missed a beat. Music joke. It sounds like Star Wars, even though there are brand new songs in there. It meshes perfectly, as John Williams is a master at doing. So the soundtrack, again, absolutely beautiful. And the storyline, and I know a lot of people didn't really like the storyline for certain different reasons. I found a lot of the people mentioned that they didn't like it because it felt like a rehash of A New Hope.
You'll hear some more of that in my negatives.
Well, spoilers. But
They're my spoilers.
I can see why they would draw those parallels, but really, I enjoyed it. Sure, I could see the parallels with that. I can see, okay, yeah, sure, it's very similar to A New Hope, but it's its own movie. There are so many different things. They go to so many different areas, and sure, it's got similarities, but it's different. And I enjoyed the storyline thoroughly.
Is that it?
Well, you want me to keep going?
No, but I'm just saying, I don't want to step on your words or...
Step on my words. I don't know how that would be possible, but by all means, I'm allowing the door open for
J.J. Abrams, when he took over this, a lot of people were concerned about it. I wasn't, because he actually breathed life for me into the Star Trek universe. And when he made the first Star Trek, which has become one of my all-time favorite films, he said, sorry, I'm more of a Star Wars person than a Star Trek. So I told all my friends to go see the new Star Trek movie because it's like Star Trek done by a Star Wars fan.
He actually introduced me to Star Trek. It's one of the I think it was actually the first movie we watched together.
Yes.
And it turned me into a Star Trek fan. And anybody that knows me, knows my history, I was absolutely anti-Star Trek. I thought it was boring.
And I dared him to watch it.
So J.J. Abrams, fantastic job on Star Trek as well as Star Wars.
And if he didn't like it, we might not have continued to watch movies because you wouldn't, and we might not be here. So J.J. Abrams, we really got to thank him.
Yeah.
Anyhow, he did a great job on this, and he does. There's lots of visuals in it. The storyline is really, really good. And as I said, I got problems with it, so I won't go too much. The character work is incredible. The old characters returning, I felt they were those characters again. There was no doubt about it. And they just, attention to detail of the past. There's a lot of homage to the old original movies, and I really like that. What I also liked is that they not only nailed the old characters, but they created some amazing new characters. And this is about as daring as this movie got, but they nailed every single new character they had. You got Ray, who's incredible, Daisy Ripley. Finn. Ridley. Okay. Finn, John Boyega, awesome character. Poe Dameron. BB-8. My biggest favorite character is R2-D2, and I said, oh, BB-8 looks like he's just coming in to cash in. Now, you win, you're won over by BB-8 almost instantly.
It's true.
And my favorite, too, we're going to agree on this, believe it or not, is Kylo Ren. Adam Driver does something so amazing with this character. So all the characters are really fleshed out. You've already mentioned the soundtrack. I agree. I don't think it's the strongest Star Wars soundtrack, but it's still amazing. It's got that music. It's got everything. They did a really great job with this movie, and they were pulling on a lot of heartstrings, and that's a good thing. It also has some negative things, but we'll get to that after we hear this man's negative stuff.
With regards to the whole heartstrings thing, I want to get on a soapbox here for a second, because there's something that happens in this movie, and it is a huge shock to old and new Star Wars fans alike. And this, I feel, is the biggest problem with the internet these days, is people talk about things and they are unfiltered with what happens when they talk about movies. And unfortunately, this moment, it happens to one of the characters, and it's an excellent shot. Visually, it's stunning. Emotionally, it pulls on your heartstrings. And for those of us that have watched Star Wars on and on, we're stunned. What? How could this happen? And it was spoiled for me, thanks to the internet. People were unfiltered with talking about the movie, and those of you that follow us, you know that we take very good steps to try to walk around spoilers.
Many spoilers, but we try not to spoil. I'm a believer. Some people say, well, if you haven't seen it by now, why spoil? But you know what? I'm a believer that even a movie like Psycho, I don't want to even reveal the ending. If you hear me talking about that, I still won't give away the secret, because there are people, a new generation, seeing these movies.
There are, and coming from me, I am second to him with regards to their love for Star Wars. So the fact that this moment was spoiled for me really upset me, because I felt it in the audience when I was in the theater when that happened, and I wish I could have felt the same way that they did for the very first time. But I went into the movie knowing what happened, and basically my soapbox here is just be careful what you say on the internet, because it can lead to a negative experience with somebody like me. Then you kind of ruin the movie for them. So just be careful with what you say and your spoilers. So that, unfortunately...
Good point, though.
Unfortunately, it has to be a negative for me, is the fact that I wasn't able to experience that shock value and that emotional connection to the loss of that character. And it just ruined it for me. So a lot of the movie, I enjoyed it thoroughly, but I couldn't really grasp onto that part. And that's a negative for me, and it's nothing to do with the movie itself. The movie
but
did
that's
not ruin that. Another negative I have is the character of Finn. Now, very early in the movie, he is shown as being a First Order stormtrooper. And there's a very emotional scene during the very first battle of the movie where one of his comrades dies and wipes the bloody hand on his helmet, as if, like...
Awesome moment.
It's an awesome moment, again, visually stunning. And Finn basically is traumatized by this, which leads to him joining forces with the Resistance. Now, my biggest problem with that switch, it goes to great lengths to show you he's got this huge connection to some of his comrades. And we later learn why that they have these connections. But then as soon as he makes that decision, you know what, I'm done with the First Order, he has no problem gunning down the rest of the First Order stormtroopers. Now, later on, he and the stormtroopers, they come to like a close quarters battle with that guy where he's got that cool kind of mace thing. And that stormtrooper calls him a traitor. Now, they've all believed that he turned on them, and there's an emotional response to it, but it just seems that he shut it out, like, oh, I don't care about these people suddenly. And I have a huge problem with that.
It's your military thing.
Yeah.
But it's a good point. I never even thought of it.
But, because, like, he's known Poe Dameron for maybe 2 days, but in my mind, I already know if he were in a decision to pull the trigger on Poe, he would hesitate. But the people that he served his whole life with, don't care. So I have a big negative with regards to that. And I know, you probably bring it up as well, but a lot of people hate on Daisy Ridley's character, Rey. They call her a Mary Sue. And I don't necessarily believe that's true. I'm going to leave that to you, because I know you've got a lot of problems with her character, and I'm going to counter you on some of them. I already know that. Yeah. But really, just those two things were the biggest negatives to me. Didn't really have a lot wrong with this movie at all. To me, it's up there with one of the best movies that I've seen.
My first negative is one that a lot of people say. It doesn't ruin the film for me, but it does have to be stated. The reason why this storyline is so good is because it is A New Hope. And that's okay with that. But people always go, they hit all the beats, which they do. And I don't want to go through them because that would be spoilers. But everything you see, a lot of it, they don't take chances. Say what you want about the prequels, they took chances. This one does not. Like, literally, like, Rey grows up on a Tatooine-like planet, like, where she's, like, sand. Later, they show up on a snow planet. Like, there's not even a change of thing. There's another thing that's like the Death Star. Like, everything is just a little too close to it. I also think the reason why people love this movie so much is because it relies so heavily on nostalgia. And that's how they won them over, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know me, I'm a big nostalgia guy. But they need to change it in the next movie, because if the next movie comes off as a little too Empire, I personally am not going to be a fan of that. I want to see some big risks, because I'm okay that they stay, but they played way too safe in this movie and relied heavily on the nostalgia of the original films. As your Mary Sue thing, I like the character Rey. I think she's awesome. But ever since I was a kid watching movies like Indiana Jones, Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, I love my heroes to make mistakes. I like that they have issues. I think Rey succeeds in everything she does, and the one thing she doesn't works in their favor.
What's the one thing she doesn't succeed in?
When she's on the ship that Han Solo's on, she releases the creature accidentally, and it winds up eating a lot of the bad guys.
All right, so here's where we're going to butt heads with this. So you liken her to, and not making mistakes, to Luke, Leia, and Han Solo.
Who all made mistakes in the original trilogies.
Yeah, sure they did, and so does she. You just pointed one out. And there's also a mistake at the end of the movie. She's not able to capitalize on her fight with Kylo Ren. So there's a mistake.
That's just writing to move us to another movie.
She made a mistake by running off into the Force and being...
But her untrained with the lightsaber... even Luke was seen training with it a bit. And he didn't even get a lightsaber do until the second movie.
So again...
Not only she, but Finn can almost kick Kylo's ass as well.
There's a scene in the original Star Wars when they're all on the Millennium Falcon. Luke's got the helmet on and he's following it with the droid. Right. And then he's constantly getting hit by it, but then suddenly he's able to block all of them. So no training there. He feels it with the Force. And
he makes mistakes, though. In Empire, she doesn't make any. She even flies a plane that she has never, ever flown anything that big before. And she flies it in another ship that's been crash-landed, where it looks like even the best pilot could have trouble. We're going to be arguing a lot about this.
But here's a counter to that. Going back to A New Hope, Luke hops in an X-Wing for the very first time, has never flown one before, and he manages to blow up the Death Star.
But he uses the Force. We do not know she has the Force at that point.
But we learn later on that she does.
It's still, I have problems with, I want to see a strong female lead, but I want to see them making the same mistakes that any hero can make.
She, in my opinion, has made many mistakes.
No, I want to see more mistakes because it's too perfect. And my final negative is one they can't really help. I actually missed the 20th Century Fox music at the beginning. The drum march with the dun-dun-dun-dun-dun, that, to me, is just as iconic. You hear that march, then there's silence, and then the Star Wars music starts. I just give Disney credit for not trying to put Mickey Mouse there going, oh, Star Wars is coming up. Or the big castle with the fireworks. They just keep it quiet, and they get the same reaction. But it's not their fault. For me as a fan, I missed it. I was in the theater going, where is it? Where is it? But that's a small little negative, and we'd be nitpicking now. Okay, we're at score time.
There's actually one more thing I want to bring up, and you and I, so again, going off, you obviously tell we don't agree with Rey at all, but we definitely do agree with Kylo Ren. There's an instance where Kylo Ren manages to get into a fight with two other characters, and they best him. Now, I want to touch on that without revealing anything too much, and so I'm going to take a lot of caution with regards to it, but Kylo Ren is injured when he is in that fight, severely. Not only physically, but emotionally as well.
I get that.
And the weapon that he's injured with has been, all throughout the movie, shown to be this big, powerful weapon. At one point, even Han Solo, when he's using this weapon, he goes, man, I should have used this more often. I didn't realize how powerful this was. Kylo is hit with that weapon, and he still manages to go into battle and hold his own against these two people. And people saying that Kylo Ren is weak and he's a pathetic Dark Jedi or Sith, whatever you want to call him, whatever he is in your opinion, it's completely unfounded.
No, he's a great villain.
He's absolutely, and he hits himself as if he's pumping his adrenaline up to keep him going. It shows just how strong he actually is. I just wanted to throw that up there because people hate on Kylo Ren for that. The fact that he wasn't able to hold his own. He did. And he did so under duress, physically and mentally as well. So think about that next time you watch that fight scene. Anyways, my soapbox days are over. I'm done.
All right. It's time for the 0 to 5.
0 to 5? All right. What can I give this movie? I truly enjoyed it, and I feel it in the Force. The Force has given this a 4. It's given it a 4.
Well, as I said, I have a little problem with nostalgia and the storyline being repeated, but overall, I love this movie. The more I watch it, I love it even more. And even though Daisy Ridley, don't get me wrong, I love the character Rey. I think she's great. And even though I have the little problems with her, I think she's an amazing character, and I can't wait to see what she comes up with next. I'm going to go 4.5 on this because I think it's very good. I think it's an awesome movie, even though I did have some issues. But I'm not going to be as kind to number 8 when it comes out because they need to take chances. You've done the nostalgia. You've done a great job setting up awesome characters for the next one. But I want to see more. I want to see some big risks.
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't want to watch the same movies again because I could just go back and watch the original.
I mean, Empire is pretty great. What if it turns out to be just as great, but it's got the same beats?
No, it's set up to have the same beats, to be honest with you, but we won't get into that. We will see when we see it, and we'll try to get a review to you as soon as we can on that.
And if it's as bad as he thinks it is, it'll be not only The Last Jedi, but it'll be The Last Devlin.
I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's going to be bad. I'm happy that they're keeping so much out of the trailers that I have no clue what to expect. So I'm excited.
It'll be as good as The Force Awakens, I'm sure, if not better. As always,
Let's not review movies that we haven't seen yet, though.
Oh, I'm sorry, did you want to take over?
No, by all means, but you have this habit of reviewing movies we have not seen yet.
I'm going to go Kylo Ren right now.
You did this on one of our other reviews where you were reviewing movies that we have not seen. We'll get to them. All right, sorry, Kylo.
Subscribe, like, and comment. We always like hearing what you have to say, and definitely when it comes to the new year, we're going to start taking some of those suggestions and implementing them. So throw it at us. What do you want us to see? What do you want us to review? And always, always, always stick with us, because every Tuesday, you get a new video. Are you all right?
Aren't we on Twitter or something now?
Oh, we are on Twitter.
Yes.
If you haven't known, if you've got a Twitter account, I'll pop the link down in the description below. Follow us so you get notifications on Twitter as well.
Should I get a Twitter account now?
Yeah, don't worry about that. Talking to technology with this guy is as if, well, I don't want to get into it. But anyways, guys, thanks so much. We'll see you next time. May the Force be with you.
Just let it in.